Greetings everyone, once again this brother Mota 180 sharing the authentic truth brought to us by Zulula 100, the only teacher. The message today is you shall not kill. Must we eat meat in bracket? Because you're told in regarding the commandment that one of the commandment is you shall not kill. So does that also apply to animals? And some today will argue that no, you're not supposed to consume meat, animals part and so on. You're not supposed to kill animals to consume their flesh. And some gonna protest to encourage people to be vegetarian and so on. And some also will protest because of the way they treat animals in the slaughterhouses where they'll kill those animals. They won't, in some documentaries, some facilities, they won't take care of the animals. They won't kill them fast. They will make the animals suffer. And some going to say, no, if you consume the meat, if you go to the store, the supermarket to buy the meat that was provided by those facilities, those companies, you are also taking part in that, in those atrocities. And some others will also argue that no, you are not supposed to eat pork in different religions. Some are gonna say no, the pork is forbidden. While other then they like to eat meat. They go to restaurant and so on. They eat shrimps, different type of animals, either fish, pork. They eat steaks. Chicken, various others, and they say no, it's allowed. They don't have any problem with it. Some like it to even some others even eat some steaks, for example, but they eat it tartare or bleu, so still bloody. And we shall see if it is allowed biblically. What does the scriptures says? And we're also going to see what is the origin of that practice of eating meat, meaning animals, and kill animals, cook them, and consume them. Where did that begin? Who were the first to introduce the notion of eating meat in the visible? Because you're told in Proverbs 19:2, the lack of knowledge is not good for any spirit of man of the original race. And in Proverbs 25:2, the manifestation of the glory of Loba is to hide things to the uninitiated. White and mixed blood, the glory of initiated kings is to probe the hidden things of the non-visible. And in John chapter 8, verse 32, you're told, and you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So, you're told in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, in the King James Bible, and God said, comma, behold, comma, I have given you every herb's bearing seed, comma. I'll stop here in that comma. I have given you, who is he referring to? This is regarding Adam and Eve, the first man and the first woman, known as Adam and Eve in the current Bibles. I have given you every herb bearing seed, comma, which is upon the face of all the earth, comma, and every tree, comma, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding its seed, semicolon. So they were allowed to consume herbs, plant, and fruits, except of course the forbidden fruit. Now, you're told here in the King James Bible, to you it shall be for meat. And why does the word meat appear here? Because you have to understand that in Old English, meat also means food. It's another word for food. So that does not mean here, it does not mean that they consumed animals. No. Like I've mentioned, meat is another word for food. You see that in the New King James Version, which it is written, to you it shall be for food. So the herb, the tree, meaning the fruit, they were food for them. That was allowed for them for their condition. It does not mean that they had to eat to survive, because today you have to eat to survive, but they, before disobedience, because it's only when they disobeyed that they changed, and then their nature changed, and then they could die. But before that, they could not die, so they did not have to consume food to survive. And what was allowed for their condition, because they were in the astral, it was the plant, so the herb and the fruit. So the fruit. And it's also the same thing for the animals. It was also the same things for the animals. The animals, they were allowed to eat the plants. And you also see that in Psalms 104:14. So Psalms chapter 104 verse 14, you're told in the Peshitta Holy Bible, translated, "He makes grass to sprout for the beasts and green plants for the service of man to bring forth bread from the earth." So he makes grass. Who is that he? Who is that he? It is God. Makes grass to sprout for the beasts. In other versions, you're told for the cattle. They will only say no, it's only for the cattle, for only specific animals. But no. You have to understand that before the fall, in the origin, all the animals could eat plants. All the animals. Because beast, for the beast here is also, you have to understand, for the animals. All animals could only eat plants. So they did not kill each other. They did not have to commit murder in order to survive or to eat. No. And even the marine monsters, they also consume plants, grass, herb. You see that in Job chapter 40 verse 15 in the New American Standard Bible. "Behold, behemoth, which I made, as well as you, semicolon, he eats grass like an ox." So the behemoth, because the two first marine monsters that were created by the manifestation of the will of Loba, the only and unique creator, were the Leviathan and the behemoth. So they also consumed the plants, so the herb. And now some animals today, they still kept that. They still obey that law. So that's why you see some animals that only consume the plants, while others have changed, and then they started to devour one another, to kill each other, to consume other animals as food. But in the beginning, it was not the case. Now, and also even after the fall, the first man, and the first woman, so Adam and Eve in the Korean and the Korean Bibles, the names they gave them, they only ate the fruits and the plants. They did not eat animals. You see that in Genesis chapter 3 verse 17. "To Adam he said, because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it, cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat food from it all the days of your life." Period. So even after the fall, Adam, his condition, he was only to consume, he was allowed only to consume what the ground produced. You see, he says, you will eat food from it, so from the ground, from the earth, all the days of your life. And that also, you have to understand also the first generations, meaning after Adam, his descendant, his first descendant, they also only consumed what the ground produced. And you see that in Genesis 4:12 in the God's Word translation. This is regarding Cain. When you farm the ground, comma, it will no longer yield its best for you, period. It will no longer yield its best for you. So that means it will still yield some, because in other versions it will say different things, but it will no longer yield its best. So it will still yield some, but not the best. So that's what he was to consume. And that's why you're told when you farm the ground, comma. So he was to farm the ground and obtain some produce, some product. But he was going to only obtain part and not all of it, because of the act he committed. So even after the fall, the man, so the first generations, and even the animals, they only consumed the plants and the herbs, the fruit, and so on. They did not consume the flesh of one another, or of animals, or of people. No. In one apocryphal book of Adam, you're told a story, it is in the Testament of Adam and Eve, that you're told that Adam was sick, and he had all sort of illnesses, and Eve had to go and get the fruit from a specific fruit to heal him. And on the way, supposedly a lion came to attack her. And she said, "Careful, you're attacking the glory of God." And the lion responded that it's because of the fall. That's why he became like that. That's why now he has to attack. He has to do that. But that is false. That is false. From Adam, even after the fall, all the way, even through Noah. So those generations, they did not eat each other, meaning they did not eat the animals. They did not eat the animal flesh, meat. No. The first people who introduced the notion of eating meat regarding the animals, you see that in Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 to 2, you're told. Now when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, comma, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, comma, and they took as wife whomever they chose. In the Good News translation, you're told some of the heavenly beings saw that these young women were beautiful, comma, so they took the one they liked. So this is regarding the fallen angels who came on the earth and had intercourse, had sexual relations with the woman. And also they also introduce hybridization, meaning they slept also before previously with the animals, those fallen angels. So they slept with, they laid with some marine monsters. So with some animals of the ground, and also even with some bird and so on. So they committed abominations, and from that union, that forbidden union, the Nephilim were born. And those Nephilim, you see that in Genesis 6:4 The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and afterwards as well, when the sons of God had relations with the daughters of men, and they bore them children who became mighty men of old, men of renown. And when you go in the book of Enoch, chapter 7, verse 3 to 5, you're told, these devoured all the toil of men until men were unable to sustain them. Verse 4, and the giants turned against them in order to devour men. Verse 5, and they began to sin against birds, and against animals, and against reptiles, and against fish, and they devour one another's flesh, and drank the blood from it. Period. So this is the origin of the notion that indivisible, of that practice. This is where he began. It is the Nephilim who ate, you're told, they went against the animals, they ate animals, they devoured them. So even with their blood. So with their blood. They drank the blood from it, you're told, and they began to sin against birds. So even with birds, and against animals, and against reptiles, and against fish, and they devour one another's flesh. So they are the one, the Nephilim, so who introduced that notion indivisible, who began to eat, who started that practice of eating meat, flesh of animals. So now you're then told, because of what was happening on the earth in that period, they were abominations, what they were doing. The flood had to happen. So that was to clean the earth from all those abominations that was happening. And in Genesis 6:21, you're told, you are also to take for yourself every kind of food that is eaten, and gather it as food for yourself and for the animals. Period. So this is regarding Noah, who was given the task to basically build the ark and to save the known animals. So some of the animals and the people who did not practice, who did not take part in the abominations that were happening on earth. And you're told that he was to gather some food for those animals. Because he, according to the current Bibles, you're told that no, he's going to take 2 of each kind of animals. Well, if for some people those animals were eating each other, that means then in the ark, the animals that went in, is not the same animals that would come out, because they will fight each other over there. They will kill one another to survive. No, that was not the case. The animals, even the animals here in Genesis 6:21, they still only ate the plants. That's why you're told, also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. So he had that technology to store up the food. It shall serve as food for you and for them, for you and for them. So for you, meaning Noah, and for them, the animals as well. So Noah and the people that were also saved, and for the animals. Because after the fall, there's different degrees, different type of fall. In the beginning, like I've mentioned, after the fall, Adam still only ate the fruit. He did not kill animals. All those generations before the fallen angels came on earth and had their descendant, the Nephilim, all those generations, even the animals, they only ate the plants and the fruit. It is the Nephilim who introduced that notion of devouring the flesh. But Noah, and also you have to understand, the animals who were saved, they did not practice that. They did not take part in those type of abominations. So their nature were still different from the nature of people today. So, and you're told in Genesis 8 verse 11, this is then when the flood was happening after the water. You're told in Genesis 8:11, and behold, the dove returned to him in the evening with the freshly plucked olive leaf in her beak. Period. So Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So you have to understand that here this was a sign that they could also eat, still continue to eat. They were to eat even after the flood what the ground produced. But in the current Bibles, you're told in Genesis 8:20 that then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking from every kind of clean animal and clean bird, he offered burnt offering on the altar. So supposedly here you're told that Noah, who was supposed to save the animals, that after the flood, he made a sacrifice, and that a sacrifice to the Lord. Basically, he burned offerings on the altar. So he killed animals, he burned them. And you have to understand that in the current Bibles, Noah, he is the first person to introduce that notion after the flood in the current Bibles. And in verse 21, you're told, when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said in his heart, Okay, I'm going to stop here. So supposedly the Lord smelled the aroma. So does that mean that Noah seasoned the meat before he put it on the altar, before he burned it? And the Lord, so supposedly God, so what did he do? He came on earth, smell what Noah burned. So he had nostrils, he has a nose, he smells things like a man, and then that pleases him. So a sacrifice. So Noah killed animals, burned the animals, and that pleases God. When you're told in Hebrew chapter 10 verse 5, therefore, when Christ came into the world, he said, sacrifice and offering you did not desire. So who is that God that smelled supposedly the aroma that Noah was offering, of the burnt offering that Noah was making? And so did he come on the earth, or did the aroma, so when Noah burned something, that smoke went all the way up to heaven for God to smell? So that smoke went all the way through the universe, all the way through the multiverse, and entered the spiritual realm for God then to smell it and says, yes, that's good. Which type of God is that? Which type of offering is this? That's why you have to be careful when you read the current Bibles. They are full of mistakes, lies, contradictions. Bibel, Kratambali, the book of the truth, the only authentic Bible without any errors or contradiction. So, but Here in the Korean Bibles, like I've mentioned, Noah is the first to have offered, to have introduced that notion of killing animals. And because he did not understand the sign that the dove gave in Genesis 8:11. Now, in Genesis chapter 9, verse 1 to 5, you're told, "Then God blessed Noah and his sons, and he said to them, 'Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heaven, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered.'" Verse 3, every moving things that lives shall be food to you, and as I gave you the green plant, I give you everything. Verse 4, "But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood." Verse 5, "And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning from every beast, I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man." So here you're told in Genesis 9, after the fall, after the flood, so, and also supposedly after the sacrifice that Noah gave in Genesis 9, that they were then allowed, so the men were allowed to eat the flesh of animals, but they had to cook it. They had to cook it. They could not eat it with blood in it. And you're told here in that the animals were under the power of the men. So it was allowed. So if you are hungry, you can eat meat. You can cook it, prepare, and consume. Now, what is forbidden is to consume it with its blood. So for those who like bloody steaks and so on, you're told, "You shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood." And so when it says in regarding the commandment, "You shall not kill," for that we go in Bebusedi, so Exodus chapter 12 verse 12, and that is in Bibel. You're told, "You shall not kill animals or insects for pleasure," period, for pleasure. So you're not allowed to kill for pleasure. So those who goes on safari and in Africa and so on, to kill the elephant, to kill for pleasure, for the supposedly the fun of the hunt, that is forbidden. You will be judged for your actions. But if you kill animals, for example, you go fishing, and not fishing just because some people they go fishing, they take, and it's only for pleasure, because they will make the animal suffer, meaning the fish. They will hook the animal and so on, and then they will release it. They will, or only for fun and so on, for pleasure. No. But if you fish, you're fishing because now you want to consume. That is not for pleasure, but it is to consume. That is allowed. That is allowed. Now, the thing is, when you kill that animal for consumption, you just have to do it in a manner not to make the animal suffer excessively or too much. Make it as quickly as possible and as painless as you can. That's the way you have to do it. Now, some people are gonna argue that no, if, for example, you go to the supermarket and you buy the meat there to consume, some are gonna say no, you're taking part in the suffering that the atrocities they're doing in those facilities, in those factories of those companies, because some companies they don't treat the animal well, they don't take care of the animals, they abuse the animals, and they make them suffer, like I've mentioned in the introduction. Then if you eat that meat, are you also taking part in those atrocities? Well, if we go into that reasoning, youth out there who, for example, who pay taxes. When you pay taxes, part of your taxes is to fund some public services. For example, it can be transport, it can be to help people with disabilities, people who cannot work, and so on, for the health services, for example. But part of the taxes that the government take, that in the US is the IRS, that they will take the tax services and so on. The part of the funds they will collect from you, even from your employment, that money they will also fund the army. They will also buy some military equipment, some guns and so on. They will buy bombs and so on, and they will use those funds to go, for example, to invade other countries, commit war and so on, or genocide and so on. So by paying your taxes, are you also taking part in the atrocities? For example, maybe your country or the government is doing, the army of your country is doing? No. You see, because if you want to go into such reasoning, that no, if you're buying the food in the supermarket, that means you're taking part in what they're doing in the factories. But even where you live, what you're doing, you're gonna question everything. So you won't maybe not even get out of the house, or won't even live where you are living at the moment. So that's why you should not go in those type of reflection, question too much. What are they doing in those facilities, in those factories? No. You go to the supermarket, you see the meat, you can buy. That's if the law allow it, biblically the scriptures allow it, then you don't have to question what they're doing behind if you're not directly taking part in it. Now, in Acts chapter 15, verse 20, you're told, instead we should write to them, telling them to abstain from food polluted by idols, from sexual immoralities, from the meat of strangled animals, and from blood. So you shall abstain from meat of strangled animals. And in in 1 Corinthians chapter 8 verse 8 in the current Bibles you're told, but food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. So you have to understand here that if you eat the meat, that is not forbidden, because now there are some animals that are forbidden, and I will give some of them here. But before that, in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 25, you're told, so you may eat any meat that is sold in the supermarket without raising questions of conscience. So you may eat any meat that is sold in the supermarket. That does not mean that if, for example, they are selling human flesh in the supermarket, that you can eat it. No, that's not what it means. So don't misunderstand or try to corrupt or twist the words. No. If it is an animal that is allowed, you can eat it, you can buy it, you can consume it by cooking it without raising question of conscience. Now, some are going to argue that no pork is not allowed, and they're going to give some verse in the Bible and so on. Don't confuse pork and the warthog or the Phacochorus. You see in, now I'll give in Exodus 12:12, you're told, you shall not kill animals or insects for pleasure. This is in Bibel, Kratambale. In Biala, so Deuteronomy chapter 5 verse 11, you're told, when Mutate di, the entity, will have done to you as he promised to bless you, comma, if the appetite make you say, I would like to eat well-cooked animal meat, which is permitted, eat as much as you want according to the known limit. Eat as much as you want according to the known limit. So that means don't become gluttonous and over indulge, but according to the known limit. And also he says well-cooked animal meat, which is permitted. Now, let's see some of them that are not permitted, some that are forbidden. We go in Leviticus. So that's in Levitico. So Bele, chapter 7, verse 1. And I'll translate here. It says, the people shall not eat every kind of monkey, snake, monkeys, snakes, bats, camels, dromedaries, llama, warthogs, elephants, giraffes, lizards, lion, including all wild animals, including all He says, okay, so including all wild cats. So this is regarding the, for example, you have, for example, the tiger, the mountain lions, and so on, all those. So all, including all wildcat animals, vultures, owls, so esukudu, and all forbidden animals known by the initiates. So this is some animals that are forbidden. So you have monkey, snake, bat, camels, dromedaries, llama, warthog, elephant, giraffe, lizard, lion, wildcats, vultures, owls, and others that are known by the initiates. So, and in Luke chapter I'll go in Luke chapter 24, verse 41 to 43 in the current Bibles, you're told, while they were still in disbelief, because of their joy and amazement, he asked them, do you have anything here to eat? Verse 42. So they gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and he ate it in front of them. So this is regarding the Christ. And in Matthew chapter 3, verse 4, John's clothes were woven from coarse camel's hair, and he wore a leather belt around his waist. Period. For food, he ate locust and wild honey. So he ate locust. So those are insects and that are allowed for consumption. So that was the message. So we are allowed to eat meat, animal meat, that are allowed for consumption. So that from the animals that are not part of the forbidden animals. And you're told in Exodus 12:12, you shall not kill animals or insect for pleasure. But if you kill to eat, that's no longer for pleasure. And Deuteronomy 5:11, once again, when Mandaté did the entity will have done to you as he promised to bless you, if the appetite make you say, I would like to eat well-cooked animal meat, which is permitted, eat as much as you want according to the known limit. So, you have to understand that today, if you don't eat meat, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to eat? So, because of the fall, because of the condition, it is permitted. It was allowed. So, don't go into other sort of reasoning, but if I do, if I don't, is it allowed? It is not. It is permitted. So that was the message. All glory be to Loba, the only and unique creator.